Welcome back to Jameel Cast, where we explore ideas and innovations shaping the future of our world. Join us as we uncover perspectives and insights at the intersection of purpose and progress, featuring voices from across Abdul Latif Jameel's international network of businesses. This is Alex, your AI host. Today, we're taking a deeper look into a big and honestly quite complex question: can AI help or hinder a greener future? It's a topic that's getting a lot of attention right now, and for good reason. AI is moving incredibly fast, and its influence is spreading across nearly every industry. But to really understand its role in sustainability, we need to look at both sides of the equation. So to help us get into this, I'm joined by both Jade and Sophie, who bring their own insights into the environmental impact of AI. Now, before we get into the opportunities, there's one issue we need to tackle right away, and that's the significant carbon impact of AI itself.
That's absolutely right, Alex. And it's important we don't underestimate the scale here. The energy demands of AI, or rather the data centers behind it, are staggering, and they're growing at an alarming rate. We're talking about an industry that's rapidly becoming one of the most energy-intensive globally. To put it into perspective, a standard data center today already consumes as much electricity as 100,000 homes. And that figure really is just the starting point.
100,000 homes for a single data center. That's already a huge amount of energy. And you're saying that's just the baseline. So what does that starting point actually lead to?
It scales up very quickly. The largest data centers currently in development are projected to use 20 times that amount of power. That's equivalent to 2 million homes. To put that into context, these facilities will soon draw as much energy from the grid as a power-hungry industrial operation, like an aluminum smelter, for example. So we're looking at a dramatic increase in demand.
Wow, that really reframes the scale of what we're talking about. And despite that, investment in this space isn't slowing down, is it?
Not at all. In fact, it's accelerating globally. We saw around $500 billion invested in data centers in 2024 alone. That's actually a doubling of investment in just 2 years. So even with growing concerns about electricity supply, the ambition driving this sector remains incredibly strong.
So the demand is there, the money is flowing, and the growth is continuing. But what does that translate to in terms of environmental impact today?
In 2024, data centers consumed about 1.5% of the world's total energy output, and they were responsible for around 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But the key issue here is the trajectory. Data center energy usage is growing 4 times faster than the overall rate of global electricity consumption. And there's no clear sign that this is slowing down.
4 times faster, that acceleration really stands out. So looking ahead, what does this mean by 2030?
The projections are quite stark. If this trend continues, AI could consume up to 8% of the world's total energy output by 2030. According to the International Energy Agency, the IEA, AI's energy demand could reach 945 terawatt-hours by then. That's roughly equivalent to the annual energy consumption of a mid-sized industrial nation. And in the United States, data centers could consume more electricity than the chemicals, cement, and steel industries combined.
That really puts the scale into perspective. And it's not just energy, it's also economic momentum.
Absolutely. Since 2022, when generative AI models like ChatGPT first emerged, AI has been a major driver of market growth. In fact, 65% of the S&P 500's market capitalization growth, around $12 trillion, has come from companies integrating AI into their core operations. And AI-focused startups in the US have seen median valuations of $5.5 billion, which is 5 times higher than other startups.
So the financial incentive is massive, and that makes it even harder to slow things down. And this isn't just happening in the US, is it?
No, not at all. Across all mature economies, data centers are projected to account for over 1/5 of electricity demand growth this entire decade. So while the US is a major hub, this is very much a global challenge.
And the environmental impact goes beyond just electricity consumption.
Exactly. The impact is much broader. Data centers rely on refrigerants, fuel cells, and generators, all of which have their own environmental footprints. Then there's the indirect impact. The manufacturing of high-end equipment, the energy consumed by associated cloud services, and the reprocessing of end-of-life hardware. Collectively, these processes contribute to climate change, air and water pollution, and resource depletion. So it's a complex, multi-layered issue.
So with all of that in mind, it does raise an important question. Why do we still consider AI such a critical tool in the fight against climate change?
Because the scale of the climate challenge is enormous. Right now, around 4 billion people live in climate-vulnerable areas, and by 2030, we're looking at an estimated 250,000 additional deaths per year due to heat stress, malnutrition, and disease. When you consider those numbers, it becomes clear that we need every tool available, and AI offers some very powerful capabilities.
So, despite its footprint, the potential upside is just too significant to ignore.
Exactly. One major area is green energy. AI can help balance decentralized power networks, integrating solar, wind, and hydro energy more effectively into the grid. By using remote sensors and AI-based management systems, we could unlock up to 175 gigawatts of additional transmission capacity using existing infrastructure.
So it's about making current systems smarter, not just bigger.
That's right. Another key area is weather prediction. AI can deliver forecasts tens of times faster than conventional systems. That speed allows communities to prepare for droughts, choose appropriate crops, and receive early warnings to evacuate during hurricanes or floods.
And that kind of speed can make a real difference.
Absolutely. Then there's emissions monitoring, of course. AI-driven systems can help industries like metal, mining, oil, and gas track, and reduce emissions using real-time data and satellite imagery. These industries account for nearly 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions, and AI could help cut that by 20 to 30%.
That's a meaningful reduction.
AI is also incredibly effective at environmental monitoring. For example, it can track changes in ice cover 10,000 times faster than humans, which is crucial for understanding rising sea levels. And it can monitor deforestation in real time, something that contributed to about 11% of global greenhouse gas emissions in 2022.
And what about waste?
Waste contributes around 16% of greenhouse gas emissions. AI can significantly improve recycling systems by identifying materials with extremely high precision, even down to the nanoscale. If implemented globally, this could prevent millions of tons of reusable materials from being sent to landfills each year.
So AI is both part of the problem and potentially a big part of the solution. So how do we manage that balance? Can regulation help?
It's essential. Around 90% of organizations globally are planning significant AI investments, but 3/4 say this conflicts with their sustainability goals. And fewer than 1/2 have a clear strategy to offset the environmental impact.
So there's a clear gap between intention and execution.
Exactly. And that's where policy comes in. Take the Korean New Deal of 2020. It promotes green data centers through public-private partnerships. In Gunsan, for example, there's an agreement to build 16 renewable energy-powered data centers by 2029.
So that's a good example of policy directly shaping infrastructure.
Yes. And in Germany, the Energy Efficiency Act mandates reuse of data center waste heat, 10% by next year and 20% by 2028. The European Union is also introducing a sustainability rating system, requiring operators to report climate KPIs annually.
So regulation is becoming more structured and measurable.
Exactly. China's Special Action Plan for Carbon Reduction aims to increase renewable energy use in data centers by 10% each year. And in the US, the Environmental Protection Agency has issued best practice guidance, with potential legislation requiring environmental reporting.
So, beyond regulation, what innovations are helping?
Cooling is a major focus. Traditional systems rely heavily on water, which isn't sustainable in many regions. So alternatives like direct-to-chip cooling and immersion cooling are being explored. Another opportunity is waste heat reuse. Data centers generate heat at 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, which can be upgraded to 70 to 80 degrees Celsius and fed into neighborhood grids. We're already seeing examples, like heating a trout farm in Norway and leisure centers in the UK.
That's a great example of turning waste into value.
There is also the issue of backup generators. Many still rely on petrol, diesel, propane, or gas. The shift is toward alternatives like green hydrogen, ethanol, or hydro-treated vegetable oil.
And efficiency improvements?
Upgrading outdated equipment can significantly reduce emissions and improve power usage effectiveness.
But ultimately, the biggest factor is energy source. Data centers need to run on renewable energy, solar, wind, and hydropower.
So how can the private sector support this shift?
Data centers currently consume around 55 gigawatts of energy annually, and that's expected to rise to 84 gigawatts by 2027. That demand creates strong incentives for private investment in renewable energy.
And how is supply evolving?
Renewables provided about 32% of global energy in 2024, up from 18% in 2000. There's confidence this could reach 45% by 2030, but capacity needs to grow significantly.
So progress is there, but not fast enough.
The International Energy Agency estimates we'll need an additional 450 terawatt-hours by 2035 just to meet data center demand. We're also seeing small modular nuclear reactors expected by the end of the decade.
And beyond traditional renewables?
McKinsey & Co. predicts growing demand for geothermal energy and biofuels. We're also seeing more power purchase agreements between renewable energy providers and data centers.
Any real-world examples?
Yes, Photowatio Renewable Ventures, or FRV, part of Jameel Energy, operates more than 5 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity globally, and they're developing utility-scale battery energy storage systems in the UK, Finland, Australia, and more.
So today, we've explored both sides of this story. AI has a significant environmental footprint, but it also offers powerful tools to tackle climate challenges. From optimizing energy systems to improving forecasting, emissions tracking, and waste management, it's clear that AI has a role to play. The key question is how we use it.
Exactly. AI is a double-edged sword. Its impact depends on how we regulate it and how quickly we innovate to reduce its footprint.
And that balance between innovation and responsibility is what will define the future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI and sustainability. If you'd like to stay informed, subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, stay curious and keep thinking green. You've been listening to Jameel Cast, the official podcast of Abdul Latif Jameel. For more insights and conversations shaping our future, follow us wherever you get your podcasts or visit alj.com to read our Perspectives articles. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, stay curious.